Indian Scout 60 isn't exactly a new story, but it's more a retelling of a machine that we first covered in Heavy Duty magazine in 2014. I wanted to write Original Scout just there, but to do that I'd have to reference a machine first released in 1919. And while there are some nice styling cues tipping their hat to past glories, this new unit is a thoroughly modern affair. The engine is responsive, lively and very smooth for a V-twin. It tends to pulse more than it vibrates. It's also slung in one of the best fun chassis packages I've ridden since I sold my Buell. It has an engine, clutch, gearbox, exhaust note and throttle response that beckon abuse me, while the brakes and chassis accommodate the abuse handily. The package is long and low slung and minimal. It's like attaching a motor to your butt and not letting anything get between you, the G-forces, the wind in your face and the bugs in the teeth of your cheese-eating grin. Perfect. The bars are set low and pulled back, and the single instrument dial is similarly so, meaning the bike largely disappears beneath the rider, and the experience becomes more about you and velocity than it does about the machine. The main differences between the Indian Scout and the Indian Scout 60 are in the motor, gearbox and pricing. The standard Scout runs a counterbalanced 69 cubic inch or 1133cc short stroke liquid cooled 60 degree V-twin with double overhead camshafts, 4 valves per cylinder and a 10.7 to 1 compression ratio. It also has a semi-dry sump and the design features oil jets to cool the pistons. Like the old school Scouts, it's a tightly wrapped engine, with the casting revealing the arcs of the cam drives and other internals. The gear primary drive runs to a 6-speed gearbox, and Indian claims a maximum power output of around 100 ponies and 72.2 foot-pounds of torque. Whereas the Scout 60 is the same configuration, but has been modified to make it more of an entry-level machine. The capacity has been reduced to 60 cubic inch, thus the name, via a narrower bore, but it also develops 78 horsepower and runs a 5-speed gearbox. Of the two, I actually liked the engine and gearbox of the 60 better. The lower power output is noticeable, but what it meant was that I could stay on the gas longer, pin it just a little bit harder, without reaching the license disqualification zone quite as quickly. It still blasts away from the lights faster than all but the supercars, and the lower output seemed better tuned to its cornering clearances. With the 60's cheaper ride-away cost, I'd invest in the performance shocks and slip-on mufflers as fitted to the demo unit. And that would bring the bike up to the same value as the standard Scout. I actually also preferred the 5-speed gearbox. It's basically the 6-speed unit without the 5th cog. The ratio in top is still 4.034 to 1, and on both the 5 and 6 speeds, the bike chugs along at 60 kilometers an hour without lugging very happily.
1500 RPM at 50 kilometers an hour in 5th gear. That's significant because it only has 5 gears. The original Scout also had 6 gears, not the original.
And what it means is you don't have to row it up and down the ratios as often, and it really has all the gears a cruiser style machine needs, probably more than. On the road, the bike is sure-footed with fat 16-inch rubber front and rear. It's a well-balanced, rigid chassis, and one that isn't thrown offline by irregularities in the surface. For a 247 kilogram dry unit, it's nimble and chuckable. There's 3 inches of travel available for the rear suspension, so it's not what we would call a plush ride.
Man, this road's rough. The suspension's doing really well. It's got some aftermarket shocks on it, but we'll talk about them in a minute.
But it fits with the minimalist strap a motor to your butt feel of the bike. Indian have a range of touring extras available, and if you can deal with the firmness of the ride, then the ergonomics are plenty comfortable for a long day in the saddle. That said, I thought the Scout 60 was one of the best urban motorcycles I've ridden in a long time. It tears up the city, it's narrow enough to lane split with confidence, it's powerful enough to carve up the back streets or the freeways, and it does it with modern technology and performance wrapped in an old school styling exercise. And it does so with a dose of old fashioned fun. Heap big fun, in fact.